Hi, guys. Welcome to another episode of Natural Fertility with Dr. Jane. Of course, I'm Dr. Jane, and today I have David and Melody joining me. And David and Melody, we met a couple years ago, and I'm really excited to share your journey because you are one of those couples that unfortunately, or maybe fortunately because we met, your story broke my heart. And I am so glad to have you on the other side to share it with everybody of what's possible.
Yeah. Thanks
Yeah.
for having us. We're always honored and excited to share our
Mhm.
story and hopefully with that bring a little bit of hope to others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for this opportunity. Yeah.
Of course. And you guys wrote a book about it. So we'll talk about the book and really the journey. But do you want to tell people where you were um, before we met?
Sure.
Yeah, so essentially, before we met, we had, and this is in our book too, but I'll just kind of briefly give everyone an overview. But we had, after 2.5 years into our marriage, we decided, all right, we'd love to have a family, start having some kids. And so that's kind of where our journey started, and just building our family. And through that, we ended up having two miscarriages in a year. And then we eventually took a little bit of time, did some really basic testing just to see, oh, was my progesterone off or, something simple like that. We were looking for a simple fix, essentially at that time in our lives, which,
I
yeah,
love
we
the
know.
quotations because it's true.
Yeah.
Like we're always just hoping for a simple fix.
Yes. And it doesn't really work that way. But essentially, we kind of did that. We took a couple years off. We ended up getting pregnant with our son, Kanan, who actually ended up being stillborn in September 7th, 2021, during all the COVID crazy stuff. And so, really, that was kind of our journey, our start to our family. And it really wasn't going very well. It's not where we had hoped to be at that age in our lives. And so that's really kind of what led us to working with you and really seeking out, we need to find something different. Like there's somebody out there that can help us search for the deeper root causes and not just one root cause, but various ones that we end up finding out with your help. But that's essentially, yeah, kind of where that started.
Yeah, and we had kind of tried everything up to this point, naturally and medically and all the things and just obviously
Mm.
the results just weren't happening the way that we were hoping. And so yeah, I think just finding I think Melody, you found her on Instagram or something.
I did. I
um,
actually,
Thanks, algorithm.
yes, too funny. So it works, but I was kind of just like desperate. And for us, like our faith is a really big deal in our lives. And so I was just like talking to the Lord and I was like, I gotta find like the right person to work with. I didn't want to go number one, I did not want to give up. We both had that in us. Like we still had hope. We didn't want to give up. We knew that this was possible, that like my body was not broken and it could be fixed. But number two, I just knew there was someone out there that was willing to dig deeper, was willing to ask different questions, think outside the box, maybe do different testing or whatever needed to happen. And I ended up coming across your page and just looking at some of the things you had posted, some different health issues like PCOS and other things that I had dealt with. And I really felt like I aligned with just how you talked about things and thought through things. And so I ended up reaching out. And that's when we decided as a couple, okay, if we're going to do this, it's not just going to be me, it's going to be both of us. Like, we're going to be all in. There's no halfway in. We're going in deep.
hmm
Um, and I am so thankful that we did that.
yeah.
hmm
Yeah.
What do you think kept your hope? I think this is really important. Having a loss at I mean, any loss is heartbreaking, but at 37 weeks, like it is just, and I remember crying with you guys on calls. I remember reading your story and just being like, oh my God, it's unimaginable. But hearing you say that you still had hope, that you believed that your body wasn't broken, do you think this is just your faith, or do you think that this is something from upbringing as well, or like combination? Because I see a lot of women not being able to have any hope and give up and go into a really dark place. And, not to say that you didn't go to a dark place, but you still had that light.
Yeah, I think honestly it's important to actually walk through that dark place. There's
Mhm.
a scripture verse that says, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. And I think it's the walking through part. That's the important part. Like sometimes it's needing to maybe set up a tent and camp there. And
Or run away.
yeah.
Mm.
And so I
Fight or
think,
flight.
yeah, just with each other, our faith in God, and obviously family, friends, people like yourself,
Mhm.
um, community too. It's all important to just kind of keep you just moving forward, just taking the next step, because that's
Mhm.
really what it boils down to is, can I wake up the next day and win this day and win the next day, win the next day,
Yeah.
and kind of stack those things.
Yes. I remember there's a phrase, if you end up reading our book, for those out there that are interested, we actually, I think it's a phrase you mentioned in there, but we just needed to know what to do next. That's what we felt like, with our faith. We were hearing from God, like, okay, what do we need to do next? Like, we wanted to keep moving forward, and it was just asking that question. We had asked all the why questions, of course, going through that grieving process. You need to. Like, there's a point you absolutely need to do that because that is part of dealing and processing it. But then we finally got to the spot of, okay, what's next? What are our next steps? Which was really important to get to that part.
Yep. Yeah, and I mean, just so listeners, it's like IVF was never really on the table for you, and that's I think did the conventional system. That's all they recommended. Did they?
So yeah, so when we actually had done like some of the more basic medical testing, they told us because even though we had the losses that we had, they said because we were able to get pregnant, they didn't necessarily recommend that we had to do IVF right away, but they're like, if it's not happening after a while and you want to, obviously, we'll help you with that. So I'm thankful that for us, because I know many, many people get told to do that straight away.
Mhm,
And for us, we didn't necessarily have to,
mhm.
although it didn't come super easy for us after losing our son. So,
Yeah, yeah. It's and then the favorite is like, well, then you can just adopt, and you went through that process as well, and I mean, firsthand can probably tell people that it's not that simple and it's not that easy. And you were definitely blessed with Havla, right? As when we started working together, but before that, it was another compounding effect of, it's so frustrating because you just get, oh, you can just adopt. And it's like, I don't think people really understand what that means and the process that it actually is.
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah, I think that's a complicated question because, like, first off, I always want to say, and I know this is a fertility podcast, but
Mhm.
adoption is not a plan B. Like,
Yep.
adoption is an amazing, redeeming thing. And we are so blessed to have our daughter, our first daughter, via adoption. And she's amazing. She's incredible.
Mhm.
She's had her own journey and just continues to overcome every single day, which is super fun. But yeah, it did feel like um, almost like people would write off the fact that we could have kids biological and like, okay, well,
Yes.
people like you just have to adopt. And it was like this JV opportunity, like,
Yep.
and it just that's not the way we see it. And
Mhm.
and so it was hard. You have to have grace for people because they don't really know what they're saying sometimes, but
Mhm. Yeah.
challenging.
Yeah.
Yep.
I always say it's like they don't mean it.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
it's also, or like, now I think we're in a place where you're like, I don't even know what to have a conversation about because I'm so scared to offend everybody.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, it's, the more that you learn and the more, I mean, before I was in the fertility space, I used to ask people all the time when they're having kids. And now it's like, that's not a thing you ask, like you just don't. Let's talk about the process because the process with me was also not easy. Um, And I think that's really important to outline because there isn't a magic pill and you guys were all in. And even for couples who are all in, it was still a rigorous process. But I'd love to kind of from your perspective, and I can share my perspective where I think were some of the really big turning points. But from your perspective, what were the turning points that you were like, okay, this is it, and this is how I feel different, or this was the most helpful in the journey?
Yeah, I mean, I would say I think meeting with you kind of that first time and kind of just when you kind of go over the brief overview of like essentially the end goals and like, okay, yes, we want to hopefully have a baby, but also like we want you to actually both be healthy and gain like real health, longevity, all those different things that you talk about. And just kind of really putting our shifting our perspective, I would say, like going about it, like, because sometimes, like, when you have those losses and it's obviously extremely hard, you almost you have like an empty hole in your heart, and you just immediately are like, I don't care, however it'll happen, however it'll work, I just want to be right. Like, and there's so
Yep.
many people probably listening to this that can relate to that feeling at some point in their journey, and we had to get to the spot of like, okay, once we are parents, like, we actually wanna be healthy so we can run around with our kids, so we're not always sick, so we're not the list goes on, so it was
Mhm.
also, like, that generational health that you talk about, I love that phrase, but, essentially just kinda going into that, and for us, we were parenting an adopted child that we now had and working with you, so for us, we were kind of in a spot, like, we're like, "All right, why we're gonna do both." Like, we still have faith that we're gonna also have a biological child while we're raising this child, and it was obviously a beautiful journey, but I would say you just honing in, like, every month, like, you always asked about the symptoms we were experiencing, have they changed? Switching up supplement regimens and that kind of thing was really helpful because we were used to the typical, okay, let's wait 3 months, let's wait 6 months, and then we'll check stuff. You were very much proactive of like,
Yeah.
we're going to keep moving forward, but we're also going to change things when we need to because the body might not need that anymore, or you might need more, whatever it would be.
Mhm.
And so I really appreciated someone being able to do that because I felt like more progress was happening faster. Even though I knew it was going to be
It
a
still feels slow,
process.
but it does faster when I hear people like, "Come back in 3 months, come back in 6 months." I'm like, in the fertility space, you can't do that. It's too
Yeah.
long.
Yeah, because then you're just I hope something changes versus, like, we know stuff is changing. I would say for me, one thing that was really helpful was the Aura Ring, actually,
Mhm.
which I'm not sure if you're in yours, but
Yeah, today.
I just put mine back on postpartum here, just checking things, but that was really helpful. You kind of teaching us about that a little bit and like, okay, this is, stuff tracking stuff in real time. And every single day, there's so much information that was very usable to switch up stuff when we needed to. Tracking like basal body temperature, that was super, super useful. Tracking like with my cycles. So that's kind of a practical thing, but that was super helpful, I would say. Um, and doing more in-depth testing that we maybe weren't familiar with. That was also extremely helpful.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Did you add to that?
Yeah, just to kind of reiterate that is I think the biggest help for us was the real time tweaking, if you will, the real time adjustments,
Hmm.
that just kind of helped us stay on the right path. Like we kind of alluded to this earlier, but we had tried a lot of other things, a lot of other natural doctors, a lot of other, blood testing, stool testing, mold testing. We had
Heavy
honestly
metals, you did a lot of heavy metals, right? Dechelation and stuff. Yeah, there's lots.
we had honestly done a lot of it, and so we're pretty familiar with it, but like Melody
Hmm.
said, it was, okay, blood test, and then we do a few things, and we test again in 3 to 6 months, and it just never felt like you could really move the needle, and so I feel like that real-time data-driven approach actually helped us keep hope alive because we could kinda see like, "Okay, this is working, this is helping," or, "Wait, we need to
Hmm.
adjust this a little bit," and
Yep.
kind of changing those things in real time helped it kinda keep it interesting too and
Yep.
keep us moving forward.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, what was it like for you to have like Dave on board this time? because it's not like he wasn't on board.
Yeah.
He was always supportive, but I think
Yeah.
there was a shift in, like, Dave's got some things that he has to work on, and you have some things, and then you guys are working together through some things.
Yes. I think it was really helpful in that accountability piece
Sure, yep.
Mhm.
because he was really good at doing things
You just have to
before.
do it lovingly, right? You're not
Yes.
taking your supplements again.
Yeah.
Yes. And I finally got to the spot where I'm like, yes, you're right. Like this is not a negotiable thing. Like I need to grow up and do this. But also I would say like, yeah, just obviously the emotional support piece too. Cause there was times that I felt like quitting and I was like, "Ugh, I don't know if this is gonna work. And he's like, no, we gotta just give it a chance. You gotta keep going. Like, don't give up. Just like that endurance with it. That is part of just your personality too. But that was super helpful. Cause then you're not alone. You're not like, okay, I'm the one that has to do all this stuff and it's just me. Like, it's like, no, it's also of you together, right? Cause obviously the child that you hopefully will have is gonna have a piece of each of you. So um that was super helpful for me to have that accountability.
A couple of things for me as a clinician that shifted because I remember when I met and it was like, okay, they've done a lot of heavy mold, they've done heavy metals mold detox, and you didn't have a PCOS diagnosis. But you were like, "I kinda suspect that I have it," and I remember the shift for me was like, I just need to start treating her like she does have it. Because even though there wasn't, like, the cysts on the ovaries or, like, the blood sugar wasn't super dysregulated, it was when we put that CGM on you, that continuous glucose monitor, and we actually saw that you were dropping below so
Yeah.
often that made me realize that, like, oh my god, she does have blood sugar dysregulation, it's just the other way. But when I tested just the HbA1c, you always passed with flying colors. You had like a 4.8 or, maybe a 5.0 at most. But it was that I'm glad that you guys found that data tracking helpful as well, because that's what kind of keeps me going. Something is missing here. Something is missing here. And when we put the blood sugar monitor on you, Mel, I found that was like a big aha moment for me as a clinician. And then it was like, okay, we're treating PCOS. And even now I'm like, oh, I would have done this and I would have done that. And that's just, part of working with different couples, that the gift that you guys give to other couples that you don't even realize is the experience that I get working with you. I can then apply it, and help faster if that's possible, because you're troubleshooting a little bit faster where I'm like, "Nope, you're gonna put the CGM on now. I'm not gonna wait 6 months anymore. You're just gonna put that on because something
Yep.
isn't right here?"
For
And the
sure.
Yeah.
ordering, I love it, like, because then I just look at the sleep and then I know. And you guys with Havla, the first little bit, there was quite a bit of sleep training and trying to manage hormones and all of that stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, especially for those like listening that maybe do have a child already or maybe experiencing secondary infertility. Like it is a whole nother level as well, like working towards this at the same time. So, yep,
Mhm. Yeah, I
self
mean,
care support.
W what would you say kept you going? Because there was a component of, like, and I mean, every couple goes through this, and I almost wait for it, where you're like, "I am just working so hard on all of these things. When is it gonna happen?" Um, what is the kind of advice that you can give based on what you guys went through and that kind of impatience that starts to happen as you're putting lots of effort into something, but you don't quite see the fruits of the labor yet?
Yeah, I guess the biggest thing I can say is it's gonna be worth it. Like it's gonna pay off. And
Mhm.
it's it's so easy, and I can attest to this. It's so easy to really want the end result. And
Mhm.
when you're not seeing that, get discouraged and want to give up, or, it's getting too expensive, or it's getting, it's hard
All
on
of
your
it.
body. It's hard, all the things, it's all intertwined in it.
Mhm.
And I think just realizing like, you're doing these things to impact the next generation, your kids and their kids, and really to invest in that,
Mhm.
and to kind of take that approach of pulling yourself out of the day-to-day grind a little bit and saying, okay,
Mhm.
these things, I know I'm on the right track. I know I'm making the right adjustments. I have the right guidance. I just need to keep doing the things,
Mhm.
and I get so caught up in the end result. And
Mm,
the title of our book is called "The Process of Suddenly." And so many times in our culture, especially, we're fixated on the suddenly. We're fixated on the now,
mhm,
but there's such a process behind that. That's a daily and even moment by moment thing.
Mm.
You just have to keep making the right choices. And then sometimes when you fail, because we all will, um, to
mhm.
realize that you can brush that off too, and then start making the right decisions.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Did you come up with the title of the book first? Or was that after writing the book, then you were like, "What do we name it?"
No, the
No,
title came
the title
first.
was first. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Yep.
very insightful title, and I mean, I I understood it, I believed, so it's very nice for you to talk about it in that way where it's like there is still a process to then
Mhm.
suddenly something happening in your
Mhm.
Yes.
favor.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you wanna talk about the pregnancy? What was different this time?
Yeah. I would say for us, I was very surprised. After I'll just give a little brief leading up to actual pregnancy, but once we got kind of close to almost a year, I think working with you, I think that's when and you probably remember I was really close to my breaking point because I was like, okay, this has been like a year and I'm like
Yeah,
so
I
ready.
just won the baby, yeah.
Yes, right. And everyone, I feel like, gets to that point, which still trying to be patient, but I think we had some really good conversations like through that of just, being open to different things and trying other things and you can hold in, okay, let's try these specific things and then go for it kind of a thing. And it worked essentially like that suddenly happened. We got pregnant, and I think we were both, I'm trying to even remember, like, how you reacted, but it was, like, the faintest of the faintest line
Yeah.
on the desk, and I think he was getting ready for work, one day when it happened. I had took the test, I was waiting, for it, however many minutes we have to wait, and he must have peeked before I went back to check it, and I'll let you kind of say your point here, how
Yeah.
you felt about that. To let you interrupt.
Yeah. Well, many of you listening will identify with this, but you kind of get used to, in a bad way, like negative test after negative test after negative test after negative test. And so
Mhm.
it was, I thought it was just another one of those. Yeah, I snuck a peek. It was in the bathroom. It was negative, or so I thought. Like I didn't see the line, or it wasn't like prominent enough. So I just thought, okay, well, it's just the 100th time this has happened. So I just kind of started going about
Mm.
my day, showering and getting ready for work. And then, yeah, I think,
I
I don't-
came back, yep, after my little timer went off, went in there, and I was like, "Hey, did you look at this?" And he kinda reacted like, "What do you mean?" You
yeah,
know? And I was like, "No, like, there's a faint line here," like, and I took, I think, 2 or 3 tests because I was like, "I'm gonna make sure before I send
Yeah,
out
I
your."
know, the Costco size, right?
yeah,
Yes. And so, yeah, it happened, and it was awesome. Obviously, there was a little bit of anxiety there, like, "Okay,
Mhm.
it took all that time to get to this spot. Now we're at this spot and we want the ending to be good, right? We want a full-term healthy baby here in our arms. So there was a little bit of that in the beginning of my pregnancy, I would say. But for me, I'm very thankful that I had the support that I did around us. Our faith obviously was a big piece of that. And then I was still connected with some pregnancy loss support groups that would actually had really helpful resources like in that as well. And I mentioned that in our book too. That also helps like, okay, once you get pregnant after a loss, going through that and just having helpful things. And making sure that we had decided to do more check-ins with the OB, just being a little bit more all eyes on it, I would say, like, at this point, just making sure that we noticed anything in the very beginning that we needed to be aware of, and we just had peace about that, and that was okay. And so for me, I did have like a little bit of morning sickness. It wasn't like severe, but I did have that. Whereas with my son that was stillborn, I didn't have any morning sickness at all. And I remember actually praying at one point before I got pregnant that I would notice something different, that I actually,
Mhm.
would be able to tell, okay, this is definitely different. I didn't experience this last time. And that was one of the things. Not that that's fun to experience, but I just felt like, okay, I feel like this is a healthy pregnancy. I don't have too much of it, but there's a little bit.
Mhm.
And so,
You
yeah,
sent him out for runs for food, and that's how I know it's also different.
Yep.
yes, I did. And that really, yeah,
And that was a very
That's
abnormal
funny.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
Hmm.
yeah.
My
And
husband's
that
like, "Do you remember you made me tour the Greek restaurants all over our city town?" I was like, "Yep, I remember." And he was like, "I don't like this Greek food. Try this restaurant." And he would literally just be showing up every day when I was pregnant with my last. It was like so funny.
it is funny. It's like and your cravings change and yeah.
Mhm. Yep.
And I mean, and that's partially, what is supposed to happen too. And so yeah, kind of going through that once we got to our 20-week ultrasound, that was a big step for us. Because we actually hadn't done that with our other son. And that's typically, if you guys are familiar with where they do measurements, they check, okay, are all the organs, are the body parts there, are they relative to the correct size they should be at the gestation, all the different things. And so I remember being really anxious for that, like, okay, we're gonna find out are things good or are they not potentially. And so once it was finished and she was like, everything looks amazing, completely normal. Like to hear the words normal was such a relief for
Yeah.
me. I'm sure it was for
Oh,
you
it's
too.
huge. Yeah.
It was just like, okay, like I can breathe now finally, it felt like. Um, and so yeah, as we continued on, we did do other ultrasounds that previously, just being more natural minded, we didn't want to like have to do all these, but because of this pregnancy, we wanted to make sure everything was good and okay. We decided to do that. And she is doing wonderful, and I'm so glad that we did that for peace of mind. Because sometimes you need to have that peace of mind, like
Mhm.
emotionally and mentally,
Yep.
through the process. So yeah, I mean, we did things. I'm trying to think. We went on some trips during the pregnancy.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I didn't feel like this time around, like, oh, I had to like stop doing like certain things, and I wasn't doing like any like I would say for example like I wasn't doing a bunch of CrossFit like previously to getting pregnant. I didn't like start new things like all of a sudden, but I just kept doing the things that I did previously and just kind of stayed steady through it so that my body didn't have those abrupt like changes.
Mhm.
So
And you definitely gained more weight with this pregnancy in terms of like
yeah.
the actual pregnancy itself. You felt like everything just felt a little bit different.
Yes, and yes, that was a good point because that was something I was nervous about, like,
Mhm.
because with my son that was stubborn, I didn't gain much weight at all. And so yeah, this time around is very healthy, like weight gain, everything, appetite, all the things. So yeah, yeah, I was thankful for that.
Yeah. And then I don't know, Dave, do you have anything to add before we go into the bringing it home?
Anything that stuck
No,
out to you?
you guys have kind of already touched on all the
Mhm.
major differences. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was.
Yeah, it's hard because you don't know um it's like you don't know what a healthy pregnancy should feel like when it's your first time. And then you're going to second guess a lot of things and you're not but I think retrospectively, and so when I had my miscarriage in between my two girls, I just remember thinking during my miscarriage, I was like, "Oh, I'm lucky I'm not getting sick at all." And then it was like, "Oh, my hormones didn't go up. That's why." And I think in retrospect, like you said, there's this anxiety that starts to happen naturally because obviously you don't want to have another loss and you don't know if you've done enough and if this is it. And there a lot of it is still in God's hands, right? And so like you if anything at that point it's like, hey, we've done the work now. We just have to quote unquote see if that is going to take us to our destination. But retrospectively, you can look back and go, yeah, this was different. And whether that's I was a bit more tired. I remember you also started all of a sudden sleeping for 9 hours, whereas before I was like, "We gotta get you over 7. We gotta get you over 7." And then it was like, "Yep, I'm going to bed at 8." It's like, "Okay, good." And then, I'm getting snacky or I'm eating a lot more or I'm picky or whatever, or yeah, I have gained more weight, which like you're very petite. That is a really great sign, because you're not gonna have a lot like, the baby's gonna take up room, so it was good signs for me, and I think, for people listening to know.
Yep. I
Um,
was if
Go
there's
ahead.
one thing I could add in there, I think, as I was working with you at the same time, like, through the pregnancy and I was working with the OB that I had picked to work with was very, like, respectful and okay with me working with you at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, and I feel like that is very important to find the right person to work with that is gonna respect because I would always have to ask them, "Hey, I need you to draw these labs," and she would always be like, "Yep,
No
no
problem.
problem at all."
Yes.
Whereas if it was, like, a different nurse practitioner that day, they'd, like, question and whatever, but if it was her, it was like, "Yep, no problem, I understand." So and that also gave me comfort too, like, okay,
Huge.
like, I don't have someone, asking a bunch of questions or worrying me or anything like that. So
Mhm.
that was fine too.
Yeah, I 100%. I think I made this mistake with one of my clients, and she still ended up having a healthy pregnancy and a healthy baby, but at the beginning and she had 2 miscarriages before we met, and at the beginning, she didn't have an OB set up, so when she got pregnant, she essentially she had issues with thyroid, and I wanted to test thyroid and progesterone and HCG, and no one would test her numbers. So she was now pregnant at 7 weeks, freaking out, trying to get like, constantly just going to be after and it's like there's so much stress there that was unnecessary, so I basically was like, "Okay, everybody, if you wanna get pregnant, you need to work with people who are gonna support you because it's basic tests," and, like, she needed thyroid medication, so there was finally a doctor that said, like, "Yes, I'll run it," and her TSH was at, like, 5.0, we want and I was like, "Why don't you just do this? Like, she's pregnant, just help her out." These are not expensive tests. So, I would agree that that is really important to have. And we did run quite a bit of stuff just to check on cholesterol and blood sugar and, all those things that I think get really overlooked once
Yep.
somebody is pregnant. And it's like, no, pregnancy is the hardest thing your body will ever do. And you already have a baby and you have a history of miscarriages. It's like, we just need to do our due diligence.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree.
I didn't obviously get to be there for this part, but, I ended up crying when you guys send me a message because it was I've been I was also anxious waiting to meet
Yeah.
her. Um, what was it like for you, Mel?
It was, it still feels a little bit surreal to this day, which is probably kind of crazy because it's been over 3 months now, as we're talking today. But I got to have the natural birth that I wanted. Now, yes, everything didn't go exactly how I want, especially the end, but that's okay because she's
It rarely
healthy.
does.
I was good. There was no crazy interventions. And I think part of that too, like I had a birth plan and everything wrote out, but I had kind of developed that relationship there at the hospital and the OB I was working with, like, and let her know these are the things I wanted and how I wanted my birth to go. And they're very honoring of that. And of course they would suggest, usually we recommend this, we usually have moms do this.
Mm.
And that was, like, totally fine, but having, like, that voice to be able to speak up and be like, "Actually, this is what feels right for my body right now," especially during the labor and birthing process, and I had a doula there with me just to be an extra piece of support for
Yep.
myself and for David too, to even show him different things that could be helpful. But yeah, everything went fairly well. She was safely birthed, and which was the most important to us, obviously,
Yeah.
going through that process. It was definitely a redeeming moment for me, versus, having my son and going through that horrible experience. But just like, okay, actually hearing her cry, right away, them putting her right up
Mhm.
on my chest immediately after was just like it's so hard to describe, when it happens to you, like, you'll understand, but it's just, yeah, amazing feeling, like, "Okay, wow, here she is," like, all
Mhm.
that hard work and perfect and beautiful, and then more work starts again in
Mhm.
a good way,
Yeah.
right? Because now my body has to nourish this baby and make sure
Mhm.
everything is going good and that she's growing, and so I'm really thankful for the support I had around for that. And at the hospital, they were really great with that. Even though I would have loved to have a home birth, this time around, I think for me, it was more the emotional piece and just past trauma that I had. I just wanted to make sure I had just that,
Yeah.
I don't know, like a safety net almost kind of
Mm.
having the birth there. And in the future, who knows? Like maybe it'll be different. But I'm super thankful for the experience. So
Mhm.
change our lives forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did anybody comment at the hospital how healthy she looked and how plump she was?
I
She was
so
big.
she was big, and I remember when they were like, 8 pounds, 14 ounces, I was, like, shocked,
Yeah.
and also so thankful that, she didn't wait longer to come out either because like you said, I'm a little bit more, like,
Mhm.
petite, I'm a little bit smaller person, and so I was like, "Wow," just to, like, kinda be amazed, I think, with my body that I was able to do that.
I know, isn't it amazing? It's amazing.
And I remember they commented on my placenta. Apparently, my placenta was huge in their
Yeah.
opinion. My doula encapsulated it for me, and she I will not forget the next morning she walked in with all the placenta capsules to give me, and was like, "Wow, you have, like," I think she
It's like
said,
30% bigger than
"Yes, 130 pills," and
yeah.
most of my clients, it's like 100, so she's like, "You have, like, an extra large placenta." I'm like, "Okay, wow." I wouldn't have expected any of that. Uh,
Yep.
so, yep,
You made
definitely.
that from scratch. Isn't that nuts?
Yes. And
The
then
baby too,
remembering
but also the placenta.
right. Yep, and it being very healthy versus, like, obviously with my son in that situation, it was small, it wasn't, like, formed correctly, it wasn't bringing, like, right nutrients, so just really cool seeing all even just the detailed parts of it, be different. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it's like, "Good job, mama." You did it. Such a healing. I mean, I can't imagine how healing it was for you. I know that my second birth was very healing for me because of my first birth, and it's essentially you go from, like, doubting your body to, like, "Oh my god, I did this." And I remember I, like, snapped a photo of myself right after labor, and I was glowing because I was just so proud of myself.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, it was just like, "Oh my god, I can't believe I did that."
Mhm.
It's a
Yep,
really
Mm.
empowering moment, and
it
it
is,
doesn't it
yes.
doesn't happen every birth, like we hope that it does, but, um, it definitely didn't happen for me the first time around, so,
Mhm.
um, what are the differences? I'm just curious, this is more for me because you guys, when you adopted, there was a lot of, like, sleep and, because she was born, remind me, 26 weeks, 27 weeks? She was born really prematurely.
29 weeks,
29.
yeah, yep.
What did you notice in terms of the difference from, like, the sleep training to the feeding to everything? Did you notice a difference?
Well, the feeding is, like, obviously totally different
Yeah,
because she's, yeah, exclusively breastfeeding, so that's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah,
Pavla, you know, couldn't even eat through a bottle for her
for a
first
little while,
while,
yeah.
so we
Tube feeding
were
at home.
tube feeding, and we she had to go to the hospital in Minneapolis, the Children's Hospital here, and so they were one of the only places I think in the country that sent us home with the equipment to tube feed, otherwise we would have had to
And
stay there.
zero, yeah.
So that was kinda nice, but obviously we were up every couple hours and
Yep.
trying to fit formula through a tube and, figure all that out and then try to get her to eat. She had bottle aversions and all kinds of stuff. So, I mean, this is
Lots of
completely
difficulty.
different.
Yeah. There's
But
still, yeah, I would say, yeah, this journey has been very different, and even learning, even when you say, quote unquote, natural, like I'm feeding my baby by nursing, which is a natural thing, right? But there's also a learning curve to
Mhm.
that as well that was brand new to me. And so we went through a whole
Yeah,
process of that, and finding out our daughter Jubilee now had ties that we had to revise, and a whole slew of things that affected her eating. And now we're at an awesome place. But they both had very different and unique journeys
Hmm.
to where they are today. So yeah.
Yep. In 3 months already.
Yes.
Hmm.
yeah,
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
It's crazy.
I just think it's like it's such a big difference in when we're talking about the generational health component. It's cool to see what you have, put in, and you guys have put in so much. I mean, obviously, you put so much energy and love and time into Havilah and into Jubilee now and all of those things. But it's very interesting to me to see the difference between the babies,
Yeah.
depending on the history and what, because it's this palpable of like, when I do this, they respond like this. Like literally the food that I eat becomes my baby. The supplements that I take becomes my baby. And so like I'm not surprised when I see that, 8 pounds, um, even for some like, and I make big babies too. It's just like you want them to be plump because they're gonna
Yeah.
sleep better and they're gonna be calmer and they tend to be, a better immune system because they have the excess
Mm,
stores, if you will. So um I was very excited to see that. I'm very
yeah.
proud of you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, any closing words? Do you guys want to talk about your book a little bit more or anything else that you think would be really helpful for people to hear?
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, we could do that.
Should
I'll
we
I'll grab
should
Jubilee.
we show off the
Yeah.
bait?
Yes, we'll show I'll let you.
Do you want to bring Javi up here too?
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, might as well. She's fun. She's awesome. She's just so
She
fun.
it's funny, she looks so much like you. She
I
whatever it
it's
is, she just picked it up from you.
Yeah, I get that a lot, which is funny, but
Mhm.
super fun. But yeah, this is our book that we wrote together. The process of suddenly, like I said, it really is pretty much just our story, and then kind of some of the things we learned along the way. It's definitely you'll see our faith in God come through it very much so because that's central to our lives, and but it goes through in detail. Our losses, how that felt, all the different things that we did, all the way through our adoption journey, through our journey with you, and it actually we were writing this entire book. The coolest thing about this book, in my opinion, is we wrote this entire book in the middle of our journey, and we felt like God told us to write this book, and we didn't have this promised
Mm.
child yet, and we finished the whole thing before we got pregnant. And so, yeah, this is Navi.
Oh, she's so precious, you guys. Do you like having a sister? Do you
This
like
is
yeah.
having
not.
a sister?
Yeah.
Oh,
You got a baby too.
She's got her own baby.
she
Yeah.
does. Oh, you
Yeah.
guys, congrats.
But
Mm.
oh yeah, we
Thank you.
nuts. Oh,
Oh,
she
she
wants to
was
give you nuts. You give
nice.
nuts. You think
There
you
you
can give
go.
nuts through the computer?
Jubilee
It's
also looks like you, David. I don't know if you won the gene lottery or what. I can, of course, see Melody in, but
Yeah.
yeah. So to finish
Yeah.
that, we actually turned the book into the editor, into the publisher before we got pregnant with her, and we told her one of the reasons we picked her was because we said, hey, we really kind of think that there's going to need to be another chapter.
Yep.
And some publishers, editors aren't okay with you adding. We said, we really want to make sure that if this happens, that you'll be okay with us adding another chapter. And so she said yes. And of course, as soon as we started going through that process, we found out about you.
Yeah.
So
Literally
she
weeks after. Mm-hmm.
she's in the last chapter of the book,
Yeah.
right?
uh, I love that because I think that makes the book a little bit more raw and fresh as you're going through all of it to capture the emotion and the depth of it. And it's really inspiring. And I always thank you guys for coming on and sharing the journey because it is, um, like I said, I remember meeting you and I was in heartbreak and it was just like, man, I hope I can help them.
Mm-hmm.
And now
Yep.
seeing this tiny little thing, it's like, oh,
Yeah, she's
let's
like
do
almost
it.
as big as
I know.
Yeah.
She looks
yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Fun. You say thank you.
Yeah. So
Thank
thank you.
you. You say love you. Oh,
Hi. Oh my God. Mwah. Like the queen. It's like the queen.
Yes,
Oh
it's
my
amazing.
goodness, you guys.
We're so thankful, blessed,
Mhm.
thankful that, I feel like the Lord led us to you too. It's like to have someone guide us through the whole
Okay,
process.
go see
So
him.
No, thank you guys. It's a pleasure and honestly, it's like, he she's great. You like that I always think about my babies that I help make. They're my reflection in the world and
yeah.
um it's beautiful to see because like I mean she's just perfect. So she is. Look at her. 3
Yeah.
months. She's looking around.
Oh
She's
yeah.
busy. She's got a great head of hair. She's plump.
She is.
Um,
She is. Yeah.
which
Mhm.
is good. You
Yep.
want them plump. You want
Oh
them
yeah.
plump at this stage. So
Yep. She's catching up to her sister. Yep.
yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
Well, thank you guys. I really appreciate you coming on and I'm so glad that I was able to help you.
Yeah.
And that's my faith is I gotta try to figure out how to help these people. Show me what I need to do. Show me what I need to tell them. Where do I need to go?
Yes.
And find the right mentors for myself as well, because it's a lot. There you go. There's all the babies. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. We'll see you next week.